In the world of professional basketball, championships are the ultimate measure of greatness, but some championships transcend the sport itself, becoming legends that inspire generations.
A minute remaining. Here goes Marion. Back to Nowitzki. Lefty layup. Banks it in, and the game is tied.
These are stories of underdogs and comebacks, of teams that refuse to back down when the odds are stacked against them. From the hardwood courts of Houston to the roaring arenas of Cleveland, we bring you the inside story of the NBA's toughest championships. This is Against All Odds. We begin our journey in 1995 with the Houston Rockets, a team that many had written off before the playoffs even began. The Rockets were coming off their first championship in the previous year, but the regular season performance left much to be desired. With a record of 47 wins and 35 losses, they entered the playoffs as the 6th seed in the Western Conference. In the NBA, where home court advantage often plays a crucial role, being the 6th seed typically means an early exit from the playoffs, but the Rockets had other plans. Led by Hakeem Olajuwon, they embarked on a playoff run that would go down in history as one of the most impressive ever. To put their achievement into perspective, let's consider the teams they had to face. In each round of the playoffs, the Rockets were up against teams that had won 50 or more games during the regular season. Their journey began against the Utah Jazz, a formidable team led by the dynamic duo of John Stockton and Karl Malone. In the second round, they faced the Phoenix Suns, who had eliminated them in the previous year's playoffs. Once again, the Rockets found themselves on the brink of elimination, trailing 3-1 in the series.
And the Spurs will bring it back in a hurry in Houston. Olajuwon steps his way past.
But in a display of resilience that would come to define this team, they won 3 straight games, including 2 on the road to advance to the Western Conference Finals. There, they met the San Antonio Spurs, led by league MVP David Robinson. It was during this series that we witnessed one of the most memorable moments of the playoffs. As Robinson was presented with his MVP trophy before the game, Olajuwon reportedly leaned over to his teammate Robert Horry and snarled, "That's my trophy." What followed was a masterclass in basketball, as Olajuwon outplayed Robinson throughout the series, leading the Rockets to victory in 6 games. But the Rockets' journey wasn't over yet. In the NBA Finals, they faced a young, talented Orlando Magic team featuring Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway. Despite the Magic's home court advantage, the Rockets swept the series in 4 games, with Olajuwon earning his 2nd consecutive Finals MVP award. What makes the Rockets' run so impressive is not just the quality of the teams they defeated, but the way they did it. They won 9 road games during their playoff run. They became the lowest seeded team in NBA history to win a championship, a record that still stands today. While the Rockets showed us the power of peaking at the right time, our next championship team would prove that sometimes the best offense is a great defense. The year was 2004, and the Detroit Pistons were about to show the world that sometimes the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Created the Jordan rules now. I think there are some Kobe rules going on in the game this season.
The 2004 NBA Finals pitted the Pistons against the heavily favored Los Angeles Lakers. On paper, this matchup seemed almost unfair. The Lakers boasted a lineup that read like the who's who of NBA royalty. There was Shaquille O'Neal, arguably the most dominant center in the game. Alongside him, Kobe Bryant, already considered one of the best players in the league. Add to that mix Gary Payton and Karl Malone, both future Hall of Famers, and you had a team that many considered unbeatable. The Pistons, on the other hand, didn't have the same star power. What they did have was a group of players who understood their roles perfectly and a defensive scheme that was about to give the Lakers nightmares. Led by Chauncey Billups, Richard Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, and Ben Wallace, the Pistons were the embodiment of team basketball. From the opening tip of Game 1, it was clear that this series wasn't going to go as many had predicted. The Pistons' defensive strategy was simple yet effective: make life difficult for Shaq and Kobe and force the other Lakers to beat them. It was a gamble, but one that paid off handsomely. Game after game, we watched in awe as the Pistons' suffocating defense disrupted the Lakers' offense. They didn't rely on one or two players to carry the scoring load. Instead, they shared the ball, found the open man, and trusted their system. This unselfish play stood in stark contrast to the Lakers, who often seemed to be playing as individuals rather than a cohesive unit. As the series progressed, the basketball world watched in disbelief as the Pistons took control.
Milking it down. Kobe stays with Billups, but then Billups gets free inside.
Chauncey Billups was named Finals MVP, a fitting recognition for a player who embodied the Pistons' team-first mentality. But in truth, this was a victory that belonged to the entire team. Each player contributed in their own way, proving that sometimes the best team doesn't necessarily have the best individual players. While the Pistons' victory was evidence of the collective effort over the individual stardom, we'll see in our next story, sometimes it takes the perfect blend of both to achieve the ultimate goal. The Dallas Mavericks have been a consistent presence in the playoffs for years, led by their German superstar Dirk Nowitzki. But despite their regular season success, championship glory had always eluded them. In fact, the Mavericks had faced heartbreak in the 2006 finals, losing to the Miami Heat. Now, 5 years later, they found themselves once again facing the Heat in the finals, but the circumstances were very different. The 2011 Miami Heat were not just any team. They were the result of one of the most talked about free agency periods in NBA history. LeBron James, arguably the best player in the world, had joined forces with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh to form a super team in Miami. Their stated goal was not just to win, but to win multiple championships. Many viewed the formation of this team as a shortcut to NBA dominance. On the other side, we had the Mavericks. While they had a future Hall of Famer in Nowitzki, the rest of the roster was a collection of veterans, role players, and cast-offs from other teams. Players like Jason Kidd, Shawn Marion, and Tyson Chandler were past their primes, but still effective. Jason Terry provided a scoring punch off the bench. It was a team built not on star power, but on chemistry, experience, and a shared hunger for that elusive championship. As the series began, few gave the Mavericks much of a chance. The Heat's trio of stars seemed too much for any team to handle, but from the opening game, the Mavericks showed that they weren't there just to make up the numbers. They played with a level of poise and determination that belied their underdog status. The series was a back and forth affair, with each game coming down to the wire. But it was in these crucial moments that Nowitzki truly shone. Despite playing through injury and illness, he delivered clutch performance after clutch performance. His one-legged fadeaway jumper became the signature shot of the series, a nearly unguardable move that even the Heat's defense struggled to contain. But this wasn't just the Dirk Nowitzki show. Every member of the Mavericks contributed in key moments. As the series progressed, we saw something unexpected happen. The Heat, for all their talent, began to look rattled. The pressure of being the favorites seemed to weigh heavily on them, particularly on LeBron James, who struggled in fourth quarters throughout the series. The Mavericks, on the other hand, seemed to relish their underdog role. They played with a freedom and joy that was palpable even through our television screens. In Game 6, with a chance to close out the series, the Mavericks put together a complete team performance. Nowitzki struggled early, but his teammates picked up the slack.
A minute remaining. Here goes Marion. Back to Nowitzki. Lefty layup. Banks it in, and the game is tied.
When the final buzzer sounded, the Mavericks had won 105-95, clinching the series 4-2 and capturing their first NBA championship in franchise history. The Mavericks' triumph over the newly formed Miami Super Team was a feel-good story for the ages. But if you thought that was impressive, wait until you hear about our final championship run. We're heading to 2016, where LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers were about to pull off what many considered impossible. To understand the magnitude of the Cavaliers' achievement, we need to set the stage. They were facing the Golden State Warriors, a team that had just completed the greatest regular season in NBA history. The Warriors had won an unprecedented 73 games, breaking the record set by the legendary 1995-96 Chicago Bulls. Led by Stephen Curry, who had just been named the league's first unanimous MVP, the Warriors seemed unstoppable. Moreover, this was a rematch of the previous year's finals, which the Warriors had won. The Cavaliers, led by LeBron James, were carrying not just the weight of their own expectations, but those of an entire city. Cleveland had not won a major sports championship since 1964, enduring decades of heartbreak across multiple sports. The pressure on the Cavaliers was immense, and the series began in nightmarish fashion for Cleveland. The Warriors won the first 2 games at home by a combined 48 points.
It's range. 4 to shoot. Curry from the 28-foot line. Oh! Steph Curry from...
When the series shifted to Cleveland, the Cavaliers managed to win Game 3, but a Game 4 loss put them in a 3-1 hole. No team in NBA Finals history had ever come back from a 3-1 deficit. The task facing the Cavaliers seemed impossible. But if there's one thing we've learned from our journey through these tough championships, it's that in basketball, the impossible sometimes happens. Led by LeBron James, the Cavaliers refused to give up. In Game 5, back in Golden State, James and Kyrie Irving each scored 41 points, a finals first for teammates to keep Cleveland alive. Game 6 saw another dominant performance from James, forcing a decisive Game 7. And it was in Game 7 that this series and these teams cemented their place in basketball lore. The game was a back and forth battle, with neither team being able to pull away. With under 2 minutes to go and the score tied, we witnessed 3 plays that would go down in NBA history. First, LeBron James, showcasing his legendary athleticism, chased down Andre Iguodala and blocked what seemed like a certain layup. This play, simply known as the block, is considered one of the greatest defensive plays in finals history. Moments later, Kyrie Irving hit a 3-pointer over Curry to give the Cavaliers the lead.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
And finally, with the Warriors looking to tie, Kevin Love, not known for his defense, managed to stay in front of Curry and force a missed 3-pointer. When the final buzzer sounded, the Cavaliers had done the impossible. They had overcome a 3-1 deficit against a 73-win team. They had ended Cleveland's 52-year championship drought, and they had provided one of the most dramatic and memorable finals in NBA history. LeBron James was unanimously named Finals MVP, having led both teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks across the series, a finals first. His performance throughout the series, and particularly in the final 3 games, is considered one of the greatest in basketball history. But this wasn't just about LeBron. Kyrie Irving's clutch shooting, Kevin Love's perseverance through injury and struggle, Tristan Thompson's rebounding, every member of the Cavaliers played a crucial role in this victory. What do you think was the toughest championship run in NBA history? We want to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're always breaking down the biggest stories and trends in the NBA, and you don't want to miss our future videos. And hey, while you're at it, smash that bell icon too. That way you'll be notified as soon as we drop new content. Trust me, with how quickly things change in the NBA, you'll want to stay up to date.